After 50, everything changes. The financial playbook that worked brilliantly in your 30s and 40s becomes not just ineffective, but potentially dangerous. This isn't about becoming overly conservative or giving up on growth. It's about recognizing a fundamental shift in your financial timeline that demands an entirely different approach to how you budget, invest, and protect your wealth. What if I told you that the budget strategy that served you perfectly in your 30s could actually be undermining your financial security now that you've crossed the half-century mark? Imagine discovering that the conventional financial wisdom you followed for decades, maximize returns, grow your portfolio aggressively, chase higher yields, might be the very thing putting your retirement at risk. Has this ever happened to you? You look at your retirement accounts and feel that gnawing anxiety that despite following all the right financial advice, you're somehow still not where you should be. That's because most financial guidance is designed for younger investors with decades ahead of them, not for those of us navigating the crucial pre-retirement and early retirement years. Think about the stark mathematical reality for a moment. If you're 60 years old with $500,000 saved and you experience a 50% market downturn or investment loss, you're not just down to $250,000. You're down to $250,000 with potentially only 5 to 10 working years left to recover. That same percentage loss when you're 30 is an entirely different scenario with 3 decades to rebuild. The impact isn't different because the percentage changed. It's different because your recovery runway has fundamentally shortened. This shift from playing offense to playing defense represents one of the most critical transformations in your financial journey. Yet it's one that few financial advisors properly prepare their clients for. The financial media constantly pushes messages about catching up, taking more risk, and finding the next big investment opportunity. But what if success after 50 isn't about maximizing returns at all costs, but rather about avoiding the catastrophic mistakes that can derail decades of disciplined saving? Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might completely transform how you approach your finances in this crucial stage of life. The strategies I'll share aren't complex or mysterious. They're counterintuitive insights drawn from the wisdom of one of history's greatest investors, yet rarely discussed in mainstream financial circles. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Now, imagine if I told you that the true danger for investors past 50 isn't underperformance at all. It's something far more devastating that few financial planners will ever tell you about. This distinction represents a fundamental transformation in perspective that could protect everything you've worked so hard to build. The hidden truth that financial institutions rarely discuss is that after 50, you need to completely reframe your relationship with risk. While younger investors can afford to experience the painful lessons that come with financial mistakes, your journey now demands a fundamental mindset transformation. I call this shifting from FOMO to FOBO, replacing your fear of missing out with the much more protective fear of blowing out. If you found value in these financial insights for life after 50, hit that subscribe button to join our community of thoughtful investors. I'm dedicated to sharing wisdom that cuts through the market noise and helps secure your financial future. This psychological shift isn't about becoming paranoid or overly conservative. It's about recognizing the cold, hard reality that financial blunders, which merely set you back temporarily in your 30s and 40s, can become permanent, irreversible setbacks as you approach retirement. The revelation here is profound, yet simple. Success isn't defined by catching lightning in a bottle with the next Tesla or crypto windfall. It's about methodically avoiding the catastrophic losses that can derail decades of disciplined saving and investing. Think about how the financial media bombards us daily with messages designed to trigger that primal FOMO response. Urgent alerts about stocks that are ready to explode, cryptocurrencies that could 10x overnight, or real estate opportunities that are once in a lifetime. This constant drumbeat of urgency creates a decision environment that's uniquely toxic for investors in their 50s, 60s, and beyond. Behind the scenes of nearly every financial disaster story I've witnessed with clients in this age group, you'll find the same pattern: experienced, otherwise intelligent people who succumb to that powerful FOMO impulse, making one desperate lunge for financial security that instead left them devastated with insufficient time to recover. The journey to financial confidence after 50 involves embracing what might initially seem counterintuitive: the profound beauty of boring investments. Our culture relentlessly glorifies the exciting, the novel, the disruptive. But here's the financial revelation that changed everything for my most successful clients. After 50, boring is beautiful. Predictable cash flows, steady dividends, and reliable growth rates become far more valuable than volatile investments with theoretically higher upsides. This shift goes beyond mere investment selection. It needs to permeate your entire financial planning approach. Your budget should reflect this new reality, prioritizing stability and predictability in both income and expenses. The impact of this philosophy extends far beyond your portfolio performance. It creates something increasingly precious as we age: peace of mind. Now, I want to go even deeper into understanding the architecture of financial disasters. Almost all of them share common elements that you can systematically eliminate from your financial life after 50. These protective barriers will ensure you're never exposed to the kind of catastrophic losses that can derail your retirement dreams. If you've already recognized this crucial shift in your own financial mindset, type FOMO activated in the comments below. When you examine the fundamental architecture of financial disasters, you'll find that almost all of them involve some combination of three destructive elements: borrowed money, speculative positions, and instruments so complex that even their creators barely understand them. The revelation that transformed my own approach to wealth preservation was realizing that these three factors create a perfect storm of vulnerability, especially after 50. Leverage, using borrowed money to amplify potential returns, introduces a dangerous illusion. While it can magnify gains in favorable conditions, it can devastate your portfolio when markets turn against you. The hidden truth is that debt-based investing creates artificial time pressure, forcing you to be right not just directionally, but also in your timing. After 50, this time pressure directly contradicts your need for patience and durability. Complexity represents another silent destroyer of wealth. Our financial system has evolved to create increasingly sophisticated products: structured notes, inverse ETFs, complex option strategies that promise to solve specific problems or deliver enhanced returns. Yet behind the scenes of these complex instruments often lies a simple reality: the more moving parts, the more potential failure points. The personal transformation I've witnessed in my most successful clients involved a deliberate journey towards simplicity rather than complexity. This shift towards simplicity isn't about dumbing down your strategy, it's about profound clarity. If you can't explain an investment to a reasonably intelligent teenager, it probably doesn't belong in your post-50 portfolio. This decisive filter eliminates countless potential disasters before they can affect your financial security. Perhaps the most insidious destroyer of wealth after 50 isn't found in market mechanics at all, but in human psychology. Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's brilliant partner, identified envy as the dumbest of the 7 deadly sins for one compelling reason. It's the only one that provides absolutely no pleasure in return. Think about that profound insight for a moment. Greed, at least, gives you momentary satisfaction. Gluttony offers temporary pleasure. But envy? It delivers nothing but misery. The impact of envy on financial decisions becomes increasingly destructive with age. I've witnessed this pattern repeatedly. Someone hears about a neighbor's crypto windfall or a colleague's successful real estate flip, and suddenly decades of disciplined investing seem inadequate. In that moment of weakness, sound financial foundations are often abandoned for speculative gambles that frequently end in tears. The mindset breakthrough comes when you internalize a fundamental truth. Financial independence isn't a competition. Your neighbor's investment returns have precisely zero impact on your ability to achieve your goals. The only score that matters is whether your strategy provides the resources you need for the life you want to live. This mental freedom from comparison represents one of the most powerful transformations possible in your financial journey. Now let's explore a counterintuitive revelation about what happens when you discover a truly exceptional business or investment after 50. The winning strategy often proves breathtakingly simple, yet remarkably difficult for most people to implement. If you've experienced the destructive power of financial envy in your own life, type "freedom from comparison" in the comments below. When you discover a truly exceptional investment after 50, Charlie Munger revealed that the winning strategy is often breathtakingly simple, yet profoundly difficult for most people to execute. Just hold it. Don't overthink it. Don't try to time the market. Don't worry about short-term fluctuations. Simply hold. With characteristic candor, Munger admitted that one of his greatest financial regrets was selling wonderful businesses far too early, a mistake that cost him billions in potential wealth over his lifetime. This revelation exposes a fascinating paradox in human behavior. We tend to do exactly the opposite of what serves our financial interests, especially as we age. We sell winners too early to lock in gains while stubbornly clinging to losers, hoping they'll recover. This behavioral pattern is so consistent, it might as well be hardwired into our DNA, a psychological blind spot that becomes increasingly costly after 50. The transformation required here isn't about sophisticated investment techniques. It's about developing what I call financial patience. Your budget after 50 should actively minimize transactions and trading activity. Each decision to buy or sell doesn't just carry explicit costs like commissions or taxes. It introduces the possibility of a judgment error with compressed time to recover. Behind the scenes of nearly every financial success story I've witnessed in clients past 50, you'll find this same pattern. They identified quality investments, then summoned the discipline to simply let time work its magic. This approach requires a profound identity shift from active trader to patient owner, embracing the subtle art of doing less rather than more. This holding principle connects directly to another counterintuitive truth that has protected my clients through countless market cycles. Throughout financial history, there's been an inverse relationship between certainty and accuracy. In other words, the louder someone proclaims their market predictions, the more likely they are to be catastrophically wrong. This revelation challenges the very foundation of how most people consume financial information. Consider the pundits and experts you see on financial networks or read in investment newsletters. Those who speak with unwavering confidence about exactly where interest rates will be next year, precisely which sectors will outperform, or definitively which currencies will strengthen. The hidden truth cutting through this theater of certainty is that throughout market history, those who sounded most confident were consistently the ones who lost the most money, both for themselves and their followers. This insight transcends investing and touches on a fundamental truth about human knowledge. The world is simply too complex, too interconnected, and too unpredictable for any single mind to fully comprehend. The practical impact of this revelation on your post-50 budget is profound. It should reflect healthy skepticism toward sure things and definitive predictions. Avoid allocating significant resources based on confident forecasts about interest rates, market movements, or sector performance, no matter how authoritative the source or how compelling the narrative. The genuine masters of any domain, whether finance, science, or philosophy, are precisely those with the deepest appreciation for the limits of their understanding. This insight leads to another awakening that transforms how you approach financial decisions after 50. If you've ever experienced the regret of selling a great investment too soon, type "diamond hands" in the comments to acknowledge this common investing pitfall that even legends like Munger struggled with. The journey to financial security after 50 brings us to a profound awakening that often contradicts our cultural conditioning. Successful investing isn't about being a know-it-all. It's about the opposite, recognizing what you don't understand and having the discipline to avoid those areas entirely. This intellectual honesty creates a protective boundary around your financial decisions, keeping you safely within your circle of competence. What makes this revelation so transformative is how it contradicts conventional wisdom about wealth building. Most financial advice focuses on what to do, which stocks to buy, which strategies to employ, which opportunities to seize. But the breakthrough perspective that protected Munger's wealth for decades suggests that what you don't do matters far more than what you do. These three simple words, "I don't know," so difficult for many successful people to utter, become a superpower when applied to investment decisions after 50. By acknowledging the limits of your understanding, you naturally avoid betting on nonsense and stick to areas where you can make reasonable judgments. The weight lifted when you abandon the exhausting pretense of omniscience creates mental space for deeper thinking in areas where you actually possess insight. Throughout their legendary investing journey, Buffett and Munger consistently demonstrated this principle. They understood insurance, so they bought insurance companies. They understood consumer brands like Coca-Cola and See's candies, so they bought them. And critically, they simply ignored industries they didn't understand, regardless of how trendy or promising they appeared to others. This selective approach saved them from countless disasters over the decades. This intellectual honesty leads directly to another revolutionary shift that becomes increasingly crucial after 50, the transformation from employee thinking to owner thinking. This mindset revolution may sound subtle, but it represents one of the most profound perspective shifts you can undergo on your wealth-building journey. Most people, even highly educated, successful professionals, spend their entire lives trapped in employee thinking. They optimize for promotions, prestigious titles, corner offices, and perks. They measure success by salary increases and status symbols. There's nothing inherently wrong with career advancement, but Munger points out a brutal truth. Titles don't compound. Ownership does. This revelation illuminates the fundamental difference between the two approaches. Employees focus on looking important and climbing hierarchies. Owners focus on possessing things that generate cash while they sleep. An employee asks, "How do I please my boss?" An owner asks, "Does this make money long-term?" Only one of these questions leads to durable wealth. The awakening often comes with a startling realization. Even high-income professionals are just a few missed paychecks away from financial pressure if they haven't developed ownership mindsets alongside their careers. This vulnerability becomes increasingly dangerous after 50, when recovery options narrow dramatically. The ownership revolution isn't about quitting your job tomorrow. It's about redirecting your energy and capital toward assets that outlast your active working years. It's about asking a deceptively simple question. Do you own anything that works for you when you're not working? This inquiry cuts to the heart of financial independence after 50. What makes this particularly urgent as we age is the brutal arithmetic of time. If this distinction between employee thinking and owner thinking created an aha moment for you, type ownership mindset in the comments if you've been contemplating this crucial transformation in your own financial journey. In your 30s and 40s, you had the luxury of seeing economic downturns as temporary setbacks, blips on your long-term financial radar. But Charlie Munger's perspective was profoundly shaped by something few modern investors have experienced, living through the Great Depression. Born in 1924, Munger witnessed firsthand an economic catastrophe that most of us only read about in history books. This living memory imprinted a perspective that shaped his entire investment philosophy. The revelation that transformed Munger's approach to wealth preservation was recognizing that prosperity is not the default setting of economic life. We tend to view recessions as temporary aberrations in an otherwise upward trajectory. Munger saw something different, a natural pendulum that swings between feast and famine throughout history. This historical awareness creates a profound transformation in risk assessment, especially after 50. When you truly internalize that economic conditions fluctuate cyclically and sometimes severely, blind optimism becomes not just naive, but potentially fatal to your financial health. Your post-50 budget must account for these inevitable downturns by maintaining appropriate cash reserves and avoiding the dangerous assumption that favorable conditions will continue indefinitely. The practical implication of this cyclical view means building resilience into every aspect of your financial plan. While younger investors can often ride out market storms through sheer time horizon, your strategy after 50 requires deliberate preparation for the inevitable pendulum swing. This means maintaining sufficient liquidity to avoid forced selling during market downturns, a protection mechanism that becomes increasingly crucial as retirement approaches. This cyclical perspective leads directly to Munger's most distilled wisdom, what he described as the critical habits that protected his wealth more than any brilliant investment move. With characteristic bluntness, he reduced his success formula to 3 simple subtractions: avoiding debt, avoiding drama, and avoiding dumb people. The power in this framework lies in its emphasis on prevention rather than action. Debt acts as a magnifier of mistakes, transforming recoverable errors into financial catastrophes. Drama wastes precious mental energy that could otherwise be directed toward clear thinking and rational decision-making. And dumb people, by which Munger means those who are reckless, dishonest, unreliable, or addicted to shortcuts, create a form of social contagion that inevitably affects your own judgment. What's remarkable about this triad is how it contradicts conventional wisdom about wealth building. Most financial advice focuses on what to do, which stocks to buy, which strategies to employ, which opportunities to seize. Munger's approach inverts this completely, suggesting that what you don't do matters far more than what you do. This revelation creates a decision framework based on subtraction rather than addition, on removing negative influences rather than constantly seeking positive ones. The impact of this approach becomes increasingly profound after 50, when the margin for error shrinks dramatically. A single misstep with leveraged investments or a toxic business partnership can erase decades of careful wealth building with insufficient time to recover. This protection-based approach crystallizes into Munger's most counterintuitive insight for investors over 50. If these preventative measures, avoiding debt, drama, and harmful associations, have protected your wealth more effectively than chasing returns, drop a protection mindset in the comments. Building wealth after 50 isn't about financial acrobatics or chasing the next big thing. It's about harnessing a mathematical reality so powerful that Einstein allegedly called it the eighth wonder of the world: compound interest. The revelation that often surprises even sophisticated investors is how powerful steady compounding becomes over 15+ years. A reliable 7% return consistently achieved and reinvested doubles your money approximately every decade. This means that with just 15 years of patience, your capital can grow by 2.8 times without taking extraordinary risks. This mathematical certainty creates an entirely different decision framework after 50. The frantic pursuit of spectacular returns, trying to find the next Tesla or Bitcoin, often leads to precisely the kind of catastrophic mistakes that destroy capital. Meanwhile, the patient investor who achieves reasonable, consistent returns ends up substantially wealthier simply by avoiding those errors and letting time work its magic. The transformation happens when you shift your focus from the daily noise of market movements to the powerful long-term trend of compound growth. This perspective shift creates a remarkable sense of calm. The daily financial headlines become less urgent, the market's short-term gyrations less concerning. You develop the emotional resilience to stay the course when others panic, because you understand the underlying mathematical reality. I've witnessed this inner revolution in countless investors who finally grasp the genuine power of compounding after 50. They stop chasing the latest hot stock tip or investment fad. They abandon the exhausting pursuit of timing market tops and bottoms. Instead, they construct robust portfolios of quality assets, and then, this is the crucial part, they simply let them work. This compounding principle leads directly to what might be Munger's most fundamental insight, one so simple it's often overlooked, yet so powerful it underpins everything else. The mathematical reality that governs all financial outcomes is brutally straightforward. If you don't spend less than you earn, no investment strategy on earth can save you. This truth transcends sophistication, education, and income level. People with seven-figure salaries routinely end up broke in retirement because they consistently live beyond their means. Meanwhile, modest earners with disciplined spending habits often retire in comfort because they understood and respected this fundamental arithmetic. The journey to financial independence begins not with clever stock picking, but with the radical act of living below your means, consistently and without exception. Every dollar not spent becomes a soldier in your financial army, working tirelessly to produce more dollars through investment returns. This compounding effect creates a virtuous cycle that accelerates over time, but it cannot begin without the discipline to resist unnecessary consumption. The math is unforgiving. Someone who earns $250,000 but spends $260,000 is getting poorer, regardless of their sophisticated investment strategy. Someone who earns $60,000 but consistently invests $12,000 will inevitably build wealth over time. This revelation often comes as an uncomfortable awakening, especially for high-income professionals who've grown accustomed to lifestyle inflation. The realization that impressive salaries don't automatically translate to financial security can be jarring, yet this moment of truth often catalyzes the most important financial transformation of all. If you've experienced this fundamental shift in perspective, recognizing that financial freedom starts with spending discipline rather than investment brilliance, drop "arithmetic works" in the comments. The shift from consumption-focused to savings-focused living represents a profound philosophical stance toward life itself. When you consistently spend less than you earn after 50, You're making a radical declaration of independence from the consumption treadmill that traps so many people, particularly as they advance in their careers and social standing. This philosophical transformation becomes even more crucial after 50, when your peak earning years may be behind you and the runway for recovery from financial mistakes gets dramatically shorter. The revelation that changed the trajectory for my most successful clients was recognizing that true wealth isn't measured by what you spend, but by the gap between what you earn and what you spend. This gap creates the foundation for everything else in your financial life. Your ability to invest, your capacity to weather economic storms, and ultimately your freedom to make choices based on desire rather than necessity. I've witnessed remarkable journeys of people who embrace this principle even late in life. One client, a physician who had spent decades living up to and slightly beyond his considerable income, had a profound awakening at 57. He realized that despite earning millions over his career, he had shockingly little to show for it. The revelation was painful but ultimately liberating. He dramatically restructured his lifestyle, eliminating status purchases and unnecessary luxuries without sacrificing genuine quality of life. Within just 5 years, this new approach transformed his financial landscape completely. The psychological freedom that came with building genuine financial security proved far more satisfying than the temporary pleasures of conspicuous consumption. His journey captures the essence of Munger's wisdom. The path to financial independence after 50 begins not with sophisticated investment strategies, but with the courage to live differently than most people around you. This countercultural stance requires genuine independence of mind. In a world that constantly encourages more spending, more upgrading, more status-seeking, choosing a different path demands both clarity of purpose and strength of character. This brings us to perhaps the most profound insight about wealth building after 50. The principles leading to financial security aren't complicated or mysterious. They don't require advanced degrees in finance or economics. They don't demand sophisticated financial instruments or privileged access to exclusive investment opportunities. They require something far more challenging: the emotional discipline to follow common sense guidelines, even when everyone around you is doing the opposite. This distinction between simple and easy lies at the heart of Munger's philosophy. The principles that lead to financial security aren't intellectually difficult, they're emotionally difficult. They require us to overcome powerful psychological forces: instant gratification, social comparison, fear of missing out, and overconfidence that constantly push us toward poor financial decisions. The greatest obstacles to financial security after 50 aren't technical, but psychological. The battle isn't fought primarily in the marketplace, but in the mirror. Every day, you face a choice between what feels good momentarily and what serves your long-term interests, between what others are doing and what you know is right for your specific situation, between the comfort of following the crowd and the discipline of charting your own course. If you've recognized this fundamental truth in your own financial journey, that the greatest barriers aren't out there but in here, type "mirror battle" in the comments to acknowledge this often overlooked dimension of wealth building. As we reflect on Munger's wisdom, I'm struck by how counterintuitive yet profoundly simple his advice really is. The journey to financial security after 50 isn't about financial acrobatics or discovering the next investment unicorn. It's about patience, discipline, and avoiding the catastrophic mistakes that can derail decades of effort. Munger's legacy isn't just the billions he accumulated alongside Warren Buffett. It's his practical philosophy, distilled from nearly a century of observing human behavior in the face of financial temptation. His message resonates because it addresses not just our portfolios, but our psychology, the real battlefield where financial independence is won or lost. I hope these insights have created a meaningful shift in how you think about your finances in this crucial stage of life. If something here clicked for you, I'd love to hear which principle resonated most deeply. Type wisdom. Activated in the comments if you're committed to applying these counterintuitive principles to your own financial journey. I create these videos because I genuinely believe this perspective on wealth building after 50 is tragically underrepresented in mainstream financial media. If you found value in this approach that prioritizes protection over speculation, hit that like button. It helps others discover this message who might be searching for an alternative to the get-rich-quick noise, dominating financial content. And if you'd like to continue our conversation about building durable wealth in the second half of life, subscribe to join our community of thoughtful investors. We're building something special here, a space where we can explore these transformative ideas together, away from the hype and urgency of conventional financial advice. I've prepared another video that explores how to actually implement some of these principles in today's market environment. Click right here, and let's continue this journey toward financial wisdom together. After all, as Munger himself might say, the path to financial security isn't a sprint. It's a lifelong marathon best run with good company.